There was a farmer named Kishan. He had a very poor family. He worked day and night to earn his living and provide his family a better living. But he was unable to do so. Breathing his last, he says,
Aruna, now it's time for me to go. I'm sorry because I haven't left behind any wealth or land which could enable you to look after our daughters and you.
Don't speak like this, Kishan. You have always tried your best to provide us. Rest has been God's will.
Rest assured, you have been a good mother.
All three of them start crying loudly. Hearing this, neighbors come running.
It is God's will, Bhabhi. You know we are so helpless when He decides to do anything.
It's okay, Shamu Bhaiya. My only worry is my two daughters. To whatever little we had saved, we spent on Kishan's medication. Now, we are almost penniless.
Bhabhi, we neighbors had already decided that in the event of any sad happening with you, we shall come forward to help you.
Days pass into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years. After 2 years, Aruna is at Shamu's house.
Shamu Bhaiya, it's been very kind of you. It has been 2 years. Had it not been for the help of you all, we would have been nowhere.
Do not mention this, Bhabhi. We should always try and help each other.
Aruna returns home. She sees Sita struggling to throw a swan having golden feathers out of the room. But Swan was giving her a tough time. He would fly from one corner of the room to the other corner. Finally, when he saw Aruna walking into the room, he said,
Please make your daughter understand. She should not harm me. I'm here to help you. See, my feathers are made of gold. You can pluck one feather and sell it. I'm sure it will fetch you a good amount. After plucking one feather, I'll be getting the new feathers, that too of gold.
Yeah, sure. You are very kind. Would you mind if we call you Snowy?
With pleasure.
Then Aruna plucks one feather. Aruna goes to the market and sells it. Soon their days of poverty are gone. They become rich and move to a bigger and a better house with servant to cater all their needs. One day she was enjoying her hot breakfast and Snowy was sitting just opposite her, admiring her and saying to himself,
My dear wife, you have no idea how pretty you look in all the jewels and good silk clothes.
Aruna is deeply looking at Snowy and lot of thought come to her mind.
Oh God, Sita and Geeta both have reached to marriageable age. Looking at my status, groom's family will expect huge dowry from me. Therefore, instead of plucking one feather, why not pluck all his feathers and instantly get more rich? I'll call my daughters and tell them about my plan. Dear daughters, you both soon need to be married. And I certainly will have to give huge dowry for that. I have made a plan to kill Snowy and pluck all his golden feathers.
How can you do that, Mom? You will kill Snowy. How can you do that? He has been such a help to us. Your greed must have some limit, Mom.
I am not being greedy for myself. My plan is for your marriage.
Snowy, who was listening all the conversation, had tears in his eyes. Before he could prepare to save himself from Aruna's attack, she had already caught him.
You will repent after doing this, Aruna.
How dare you call me by my name?
I'm none but your husband Kishan. I've taken a rebirth as Swan. I was asked by God for a choice of land. I would want to be reborn. God granted me this wish because all my life as Kishan, I have been a good human being and had not hurt anyone.
You liar! How do you think I would believe your crap? You are saying this to save your life.
I wanted to help you and our daughters, and when I had lived, I was unable to provide you the comforts of life. So I requested God to send me wherever you people were living.
I would take this only if I would be insane.
The feather you have held so close to your heart, just have one look at them. They are not of gold any longer, Aruna. But now, no point in regretting.
Aruna looks at the feathers. They indeed had turned to the real feathers of a swan. Geeta and Sita, who were there, watching the entire episode, ran quickly to the swan and picked him up and started hugging and kissing him. Just then, they heard their mother.
Throw that useless piece of flesh into dustbin. He is useless to us now.
Geeta and Sita, who have always been so terrified of their mother, had no option but to obey her. Snowy developed a new feather in few weeks and flew away, never to return back to his family. Aruna and family got back to days of poverty. The moral of the story is, greedy people never prosper because they want shortcuts to reach to the road of prosperity, but they end up getting destroyed. Wanting more than you have leads to the loss of whatever you have. It is better to prevent than to repent. King Balwant Singh once ruled over Udaipur. He was known for his generosity and compassion. He would himself every morning as a ritual give alms to beggars. Two beggars, Ramu and Shamu, would be near to his doorstep unfailingly, and King knew them by their names. Ramu was an older one and Shamu was an younger one.
Today is my prince's birthday, and I am very happy. Today you all will get more than your daily quota of grains.
Long live Princess.
We shall pray for her longer and healthy life.
Come, Ramu, take your share of alms.
Thank you, King. God, you are a great provider.
Upon hearing this, King gets very angry. He tells Ramu,
Ramu, you've been coming to my doorstep since last 6 months, and each day you've been thanking God for your alms. I think you forget, if I would refuse you, would your God provide you alms?
God is great.
long after everyone had left, King kept on planning how to teach Ramu a lesson that it is not God but me, King Balwant Singh, is the provider. Next day, as usual, both of them come to the king. King gives them their alms.
Thank you, God, for all your small mercies.
Thank you, King.
King asks Ramu to wait behind and asks Shamu to take the other way, because on that road King had kept a pot full of silver coins.
Shamu, I want Ramu to spend 10 minutes with me, so you may proceed, but take the other lane today, which is generally used by me.
Shamu proceeds. When he just starts walking, after a short distance, he says to himself,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Your Majesty, you are great and so kind. Today you have given me, a poor beggar, the privilege to walk on the road which is constructed for yourself. Today I can walk with my eyes closed.
Saying this, he closes his eyes and starts walking. Since he was walking with his eyes closed, he misses the pot. After about 15 minutes, King tells Ramu,
Ramu, Shamu must have crossed the lane. Now you proceed. But remember, you also have to take the same road.
I will.
Ramu walks certain length of road and spot the pot, which is filled with silver coins. He picks up the pot and wonders why Shamu did not pick up the pot.
I am sure God has provided this for me only.
He picked up the pot and thanks God. Next morning, when as usual they were at the gate of the palace, King had thought that Shamu would have twinkle in his eyes because of the treasure he must have found. But his expression were as usual. King could not control his anxiety and asked Shamu,
Shamu, how was the walk yesterday? Did you find anything on your way?
Thank you, O kind king. Thank you very much. My walk way back home was very enjoyable. The roads were so smooth and so clear that I closed my eyes and walked home.
King got the message and spoke to Ramu.
Ramu, tell me your experience.
It was very pleasant, and I found a pot filled with
Silver coins.
God is the great giver, Your Majesty.
King did not like his remarks, and he strongly felt that Ramu should be thought that not God but King Balwant Singh is a great giver. Till about a week, as usual, both of them would take their usual alms from King. On 8th day, King, instead of his alms, in cash he gives pumpkin to Shamu. Shamu is not very happy with his alms, but did not dare to refuse King. He takes the alm and says,
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Ramu, here is your alms for today.
God is great.
Shamu, upon taking the pumpkin, feels what would he do with such a big pumpkin. He goes and sells to the greengrocer. Ramu was on his way back home and speaks to himself,
I must go to the vegetable market. There is no vegetable at home.
Ramu goes to market and buys the same pumpkin which Shamu has sold to the greengrocer. At home, when Ramu cuts the pumpkin, he finds that pumpkin was filled with gold coins. Ramu raises his hands towards the sky and says,
God, you are a great provider.
Next day, as usual, only Shamu goes for his daily alms. Upon seeing Shamu alone, King asks him,
Where is Ramu?
Your Majesty, as Ramu always keeps saying, God is real giver. Sir, he really is. Yesterday Ramu brought a pumpkin from the vegetable market, and when he cut the pumpkin, it was filled with gold coins. So Ramu is the rich man today, with the grace of God.
After Shamu left, King said to himself,
God, you are a true ruler and provider.
The moral of the story is, God is the time ruler and provider. No one can give amiss to God's wish. Raghu, the poor woodcutter, is busy chopping a branch of a tree by the riverside to earn his living. He is very engrossed in his work. Once, when he raises his axe to cut the branch, he loses his balance and his axe falls in the river.
Oh God, today nothing seems to be going right for me since morning. Rani, my wife, was upset this morning for not being able to earn enough to give her and our 3 children a decent living. On top, my axe
My only source of living has fallen in the river. Now how could I go home? What should I tell Rani? Oh God, please help me. If for no one else, at least for my 3 children. I can't see them sleeping empty stomach.
And just then, God of Water appears in disguise of an ordinary man from the middle of the river and walks toward Raghu, who was sitting on one of the branch of the tree with his hands on his head.
Oh, young man, you look worried. Could I be of any help to you? Thank you. But who are you? And how can you help me? I am one like you. Perhaps I can try to help you. Tell me your problem, oh worried man.
God bless you. I am Raghu, a poor woodcutter, and I work very hard to provide a decent living to my family of 3 children and a wife. Sometime back, when I was cutting the wood, my axe fell in this river. I don't know how to swim, and I can't see anyone around. Maybe you could help me.
Yeah, sure. No harm in trying. Young man, is this your axe?
No, dear. I'm not that lucky to own an axe of gold. You know, I'm not able to feed my children. Don't make a joke of my poverty. You can look for its owner.
Let me try again and look for your axe.
He disappears again and resurfaces after few seconds with an axe of silver.
This time I can't be wrong. Tell me, Raghu, isn't this axe yours?
No. But I thank you for your efforts. But again, this time, your efforts have gone waste.
Don't be disheartened, Raghu. I will try again, but I shall surely help you to find your axe.
God disappeared again, came up in few seconds with an axe made of iron. Raghu is sitting with his head down.
Look here, Raghu. Now I can't fail. I am sure this is your axe.
Raghu looks up and his face lights up.
Oh yes, this one is mine. Thank you so much for your efforts. May God bless you for all your effort. Now, I shall be able to provide a meal for my children.
Just then, that ordinary-looking man gets back to his real self of God of Water and tells Raghu,
Raghu, I am touched by your honesty. In spite of being so poor, you never once let the sense of dishonesty overpower your honesty. I reward you the gold and silver axe for your honesty.
The moral of the story is, even in your troubled time or in your distress, you should never leave the side of honesty, as honesty is the best policy. It never goes unrewarded. A very kind king named Krishna Deva was well known for his strength and wealth. King Krishna Deva loved his mother very much. Everything was very smooth and steady. But a day comes when King's mother was to breathe her last.
Krishna, I think my time has come.
Oh mother, please don't say this. You know it very well that I love you so much. All the best doctors of the kingdom are at your service, Ma. I am sure they will not let you go.
Son, when the time comes, world's best medical practitioner can't hold you back. Son, I have a desire which I wish to fulfill before I leave this world.
Mother, your wish is my command. I shall do anything to fulfill your desire.
I want to offer mangoes to 7 Brahmins before I breathe my last.
I shall try my best, Mother. You should have allowed me to fulfill your last wish, Mother.
With tears in his eyes, he sets himself to go and hunt for mangoes before the last rite of his mother were performed. After searching for about 2 hours for mangoes, he could not find any because it was not a season of mangoes. He spoke to fruit vendors.
I beg you, please organize 7 mangoes, as I wish to offer them to Brahmins as my mother's last wish.
Your Highness, don't belittle me by begging. You can take my head, Your Majesty, but I cannot arrange for mangoes as it is a seasonal fruit.
Disheartened, he went to the second fruit vendor, but gets the same reply. With heavy heart, he returned to the palace. With folded hands, he stand by the side of his mother's dead body and muttered,
Mother, I have understood today. God and nature are supreme powers. With all my might, I could not arrange 7 mangoes because it is a seasonal fruit. Forgive me, Mother.
Last rites were performed under the advice of Brahmins.
Oh, holy priest, advise me how I could fulfill my mother's last wish.
Your Majesty, no worry. On the 12th day ceremony, as per your mother's wish, you can offer golden mangoes to Brahmins.
Listening this, king was pleased, and he ordered for 7 mangoes to be made of gold. Tenali Raman, a royal jester, was listening all this. He realized that Brahmins were taking advantage of a king's sad mood. He did not utter anything then, till the 12th day ceremony. 12th day ceremony. 7 priests performing puja. After the puja is over, he gives 1 mango to each priest. Tenali Raman was watching all this, and he decided that he would teach these greedy Brahmins a lesson. Tenali Raman sent invitation to those 7 greedy Brahmins the next day for the feast of his mother's death anniversary. All the Brahmins met in the evening at a spot where they had decided to celebrate this sudden windfall of invitation.
It seems like a party time for us.
Yeah, 2 feasts in 2 days.
Seems like a windfall.
I can't wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, Tenali Raman is a royal gesture. Sure, we can expect a grand meal and a hefty donation too.
I think likewise.
Great. Today a mango of gold, tomorrow also a grand gift.
They all chatted for some time and went away promising to be on time tomorrow at Tenali Raman's house. House is echoing with devotional songs. All priests arrived on time. They performed puja. After the puja is over, they eagerly wait for their gift. Just then, Tenali Raman orders his servant,
Raghu, please get those hot iron rods one by one. I think they must have got heated enough since they're kept on fire since morning.
Iron rod? For what?
To be kept on your body joints. Our body joints? What for? My mother died of arthritis. To rid the pain, she always requested me to keep hot iron rods on her joints. Of course, I didn't do as per her wish. She finally died of severe joint pain.
So, why should we getting bonds?
Simple. It was my mother's last wish, which I did not fulfill. Your memory, I'm sure, can't be so weak. Have you all forgotten yesterday's episode? Yesterday's episode? What are you talking about? It was a suggestion of all of you to Her Majesty to donate a gold mango to all of you, as his mother's last wish of donating mangoes to 7 priests was not fulfilled. And after her death, mango being a seasonal fruit, king was not able to organize mangoes for the eternal peace of his mother's soul. You all demanded a gold mango.
5th priest pointing at all the other priests and says,
It was your grand suggestion. Pardon me, sir. I got carried away by the greed.
I will not pardon you. Remember, if you are a partner in crime, you have to be a partner in punishment.
all the priests got the message. They told in chorus to Tenali Raman,
Pardon us, sir.
We shall never again suggest wrong to anyone. Give us 10 minutes. We shall return the gold mango.
We have no way to go in front of the king. So please, on our behalf, kindly return the mangoes to your majesty.
Tenali Raman had a smile of victory on his face. After 10 minutes, all the priests come back to Tenali Raman's house and return the mangoes to him. Before Tenali Raman could go to palace, those greedy priests had reached to the palace and told him,
Your Majesty, we have been tricked by Tenali Rama to give the gold mango to him, which you have offered us as your mother's last wish.
He was highly angry at Tenali Raman and he said,
How dare he come in the way of my mother's last wish? He shall be punished.
Yes, Your Highness.
Meanwhile, Tenali Raman walks in with 7 gold mangoes. King sees Tenali Raman and he shouts,
Tenali, how dare you do this? You very well knew that I have offered these gold mangoes, so my mother's soul should rest in peace, and she should not wait for the season of mangoes.
You are emotionally broken. As you loved your mother deeply, you considered yourself guilty for coming in the way of your mother's soul, going to heaven as you could not arrange for mangoes. To overcome that guilt, you blindly agreed to give these priests gold mangoes as they suggested to you to fulfill your mother's last wish, and took the gold mango gladly. Punish me, Your Highness, if I am wrong. I have meted out the same treatment to the very same priests who gladly accepted the gold mango from you, so that your mother's departed soul could go to heaven because it was her last wish. Likewise, my mother died of arthritis, and her last wish was that I should keep hot iron rods on her joints to rid her from pain. I'm sorry to say, Your Highness, I did not obey her command, and she died of pain. So to fulfill my mother's last wish, same like you, I wanted to do the same. Tell me, Your Highness, where have I gone wrong?
Now I understand what you wanted to convey, Tenali. I was being foolish and superstitious. Here are all the gold mangoes to earn a place in heaven. Moreover, it was my mother's last wish. You also know that how deeply I love my mother. If you had the greed, you could have come to me. I would have given you 12 such mangoes.
Your Highness, how would I dare to go against your wish? Your Majesty, I have done all this not to fulfill my greed, but to teach a lesson to these greedy Brahmins who, under the name of religion, take innocent people for a great ride.
I don't understand what you want to say.
Your Highness, these priests took these gold mangoes from you under the pretext that it was your mother's last wish to donate some mangoes to priests before she died. Unfortunately, she left for her heavenly abode before she could fulfill her last wish.
It was you, Tenali Raman, not as a donation from my departed mother, but as a reward for opening my eyes, that I should not as a king let the emotion rule over me. And you greedy Brahmins, you all have to promise me that you will not mislead anyone in the name of superstition and need not be coming your greed.
The moral of the story is, superstitions and rituals are man-made, so do not blindly follow. When need becomes want, it is called greed, so never let your... Greeny the grasshopper is a very joy-loving insect. He loved to sing and dance. He spent his whole day in entertaining himself.
Wow! What a beautiful weather! I must enjoy each second of it.
Saying this, he starts humming.
What a beautiful day, what a beautiful day. I can sing and dance and nothing bad to say. What a beautiful day, what a beautiful day. Huh?
He spots some ants carrying grains to their home.
What a beautiful day it is. And they are working. Hi friends, don't you want to enjoy the bliss of nature? Come on, join me in my song and dance.
Oh, you silly creature! You only look bigger than us. I think God has forgotten to give you some sense. Don't you know that in winter we will have the snowfall, wherein the entire place will be covered with snow, and we will get no food to eat. So we are collecting food for those days. Come, you also join us.
You small creature, telling me I have no sense. I think you have no sense to enjoy your life. I can't be silly like you. I want to enjoy today. I can't be worrying for tomorrow. And I don't want to miss such a beautiful day.
Saying this, he starts singing again.
What a beautiful
Anne
day,
does
what
not
a
care for
beautiful
him.
day, what a
She
beautiful
joins
day,
her
what a
friends and tells them about Greenie. They all laughed. It continued for some weeks. Greenie would be busy lazing around in the beautiful weather and laugh at ants, and ants would be laughing at Greenie. After some days, the beautiful looking trees started shedding their leaves. Birds also migrated to far off places. Ants went underground. The entire place was covered with snow. No one was seen around. Greenie, who had spent earlier days in singing and dancing, had nothing to eat. His hunger was uncontrollable. The hunger pangs had snatched the happy song from his lips, and instead he broke into a sad song.
Value your time to earn respect. From your life waits for none. It's time and time.
He could not bear his hunger any longer, and he suddenly thought of ants, whom he had seen collecting food grains and storing for these days. He quickly went to them.
Hi, friends. I hope you recognize me.
Yeah, so?
I wish I had eased your advice and had stored some food for me for my these days. It's been so many days I haven't eaten. I have no place to live. Can I join your group?
All of them started laughing and tell Greenie,
We have no respect for the creature who does not value time and who does not have the seed to secure his future. Go away from here. You spent your days when you should have been actually working, but you were dancing and singing. Now also you go and sing. Why have you come to us?
Saying this, ants start laughing more loudly. Grasshopper, upon hearing the remarks of the ants, and he said,
I have learned my lesson that good advice should always be followed and worked upon. But I know my no amount of pleading would melt your heart because I mocked at you all and did not act upon your advice.
Saying this, Grasshopper moves from there and starts saying,
Walk while walk and play while play is the golden rule which no one should forget. And this is what I want to say, I want to say, I want to say.
The moral of the story is, don't waste your time, utilize time. Many years ago, there was a king named Akbar, who was famous for his wisdom and justice. Among many courtiers, his favorite one was Birbal. Birbal was intelligent but would advise the king only when find him wrong. He was famous for his unique style. During one cold night, when Akbar with his courtiers passing from the river Yamuna, he found some people around the fire where one poor Brahmin claimed,
I stand firmly throughout the whole night in the river Yamuna.
Akbar gets shocked and goes near him.
I will reward you if you could stand throughout the night.
In order to win the reward, Brahmin stand in the river whole night. Next morning, Brahmin went to collect the reward and says,
Oh my lord, I have proved my words and stood whole night in the cold water. I am here to receive my reward.
Akbar get amused and asked,
Well done, Brahmin, well done. You have done a great job. But how did you make it?
Oh my lord, it's just your grace. It was indeed a tough task, but I could lead the night by watching the glow of the lamps coming from the royal fort.
The king get astonished and felt cheated.
Oh, then you did not do anything on your own. It was my lamp to help you to finish the task. You lost the eligibility to get the rewards.
Poor Brahmin felt very sad and disgracefully left the court. Everyone in the court made his laugh except Birbal.
The king was unfair towards the Brahmin. I should help the Brahmin.
The very next day, Akbar didn't find Birbal in the court and became anxious. He sent a messenger to know the reason. After some time, messenger come back and says,
Your Majesty, Birbal is busy in cooking khichdi and can come only when it gets cooked completely.
Akbar could not understand the reason and goes personally to meet him. He found Birbal in unusual situation, sitting on a branch, and he curiously asked him,
What are you doing, Birbal?
Sir, I'm cooking khichdi. That's why I hung the container in that stand and arranged the fire.
What rubbish! How can you cook khichdi by keeping the flame so far from the container?
Your Majesty, if the Brahmin could stand in cold water with the help of the heat generated by a lamp which was so far away, then why cannot my khichdi cook in the same manner?
Akbar realized his mistake. He called back the poor Brahmin and gave him reward. Once upon a time, there was a brave and a strong king in the forest. One day, while he was getting ready to attack on his prey, suddenly a fox crossed his way. This disturbed the lion and gave the chance to prey flee from scene. This made the lion angry. The lion roared and said,
How dare you to cross my way?
The fox started shivering as he noticed the lion.
Sir, what mistake I have done?
Because of you, my prey ran away, and I am hungry. Now you will have to pay for this.
I'm very sorry, sir. Please forgive me. I will be your servant for whole life.
Okay. Every day I have to climb the top of hills to see my prey. Now you will have to do this job for me. Then I will eat my share first. Then you can take the remaining.
Next morning, the fox climbed to the hill. He sees an animal. The fox informed this to the lion. The lion bounced on the animal and killed in a minute. The lion eats as much as he can, then tells the fox to eat the left out. The fox felt happy, and this continued for a long time. One day, as the fox was resting, After a heavy meal, he thought,
I'm known as the most cleverest animal in this forest. And now I think strong enough to kill any animal the way the lion does. Then why must I lead a life feeding on the remains of his hunt that he offers? Sir, it's always you who go hunting. Now I would like to hunt myself.
Why do you want to work so hard when I'm feeding you for free?
Sir, I know I can catch a prey for my lunch. Please, give me a chance.
Okay, as you wish. We will change the position from tomorrow.
Next day, Lion went to the hilltop. He saw an elephant. He called Fox.
My dear Fox, an elephant will be your prey today. Be careful.
Fox climbed up to the hilltop with a proud smile. After some time, he jumped down on elephant. As luck, he missed the target. Elephant killed the fox. Sky is clear. Cool breeze is blowing. A stag coolly wandering about sees pond. Upon seeing the pond, he says to himself,
A perfect day today. I think a sip of water will make me more peace.
Saying this, he moves toward the pond and starts drinking water from the pond. The pond water is very clear. Stag could see his own reflection. Upon seeing his reflection, he says to himself,
How handsome I look. Thanks to this crown of horns, I look like a prince. Roop mera mastana, dil mera divana.
During singing song, suddenly his eyes fall on his legs. He stops singing and says,
If I had better legs, I could be the king of the jungle. God, I will never forgive you for this.
While he was talking to himself, he heard barking of a hound and footstep of human being. He again told to himself,
I think danger is nearby. Maybe some hunters are looking for their prey, and by no means have I wanted to be their target.
Saying this, he starts running as fast as his legs could take him. He reached to a place. Neither he could hear the hound nor any footsteps. He took a sigh of relief and said,
I am not only good looking, but have sharp mind too. See, saved myself from these hunters.
While he was still praising himself, standing under the tree, he suddenly heard the hounds, as well as fast hearing footsteps of hunters.
Oh, you horrible mankind. Can't you let the animals live in peace?
Saying this, he tries to run, but his horn gets entangled in branches. He tried again and again, but with every step to free him, his horns get more entangled. He was busy in his mental battle, and suddenly from nowhere, an arrow comes at a bullet speed and pierces him. Before closing his eyes, he feels that he is surrounded by darkness. The perfectly beautiful day becomes his doomsday. And just then, he heard the footstep and barking. He realizes that they are at his ear's distance and hears them say to each other,
I wish I had as strong legs as this animal. I'm quite amazed the speed he runs.
Yeah, I thought we missed him.
But before dying, he says aloud,
Never be misguided. That all looks beautiful can be life-saving. Today, I lost my life. And the reason? My these horns of whom I was so proud. And my these legs, I hated having them. At least saved my life once.
this, Stag dies. It was a bright and beautiful morning. Everything seems to be fresh. On a tree, Monu the monkey is sitting. Two cats, Sam and Sammy, busy in conversation.
What a beautiful day! Isn't it, Sammy? Yes, dear. An added beauty would be a hearty meal. Maybe a big fat mouse? Yes, sweetie. If we get lucky, we may get a big fat mouse. Can't ask for anything better. Oh God, please help. I think we must go hunting.
They just walk around 100 meters and Sammy sees a juicy piece of cake.
Hey Sam, can we ask for anything better? Let's pick this.
Sam picks the piece of cake and they go back under the same tree.
I can't wait any longer. Wait, how can you take a first bite? Have you forgotten? I was the one to spot the cake. So let's make 2 pieces and share equally.
They make 2 pieces, but they are not equal.
If you're spotting the cake, then decide that we should share the cake equally. Then I guess I should get a bigger piece because it was my idea that we should go looking for food.
Monkey, who was sitting on the tree, was listening to each word. He patted on his back and said to himself,
Mr. Mono, this is the right time for you to show your tricks. It seems like ages since you have had luck to eat such a yummy piece of cake.
Monu jumped just there, where both the cats was busy arguing. Upon seeing him, both the cats said in chorus,
Oh, Monu the monkey, you seem like a godsend for us. Please help us solve this problem.
Monu actually felt like a god and told them,
Hey, 2 beautiful cats. No fear when I am here. I have heard that you both are arguing. I will solve this in no time.
He quickly took both the pieces, one in each hand, and said,
Hey, the one in left seems heavier. No worry, I will just make it equal.
He takes a bite. Both the cats look at each other in disgust, but did not utter a word.
How foolish of me. Look, the one in right hand seems heavier. No worry. Now you both insist that you two should get equal pieces. I have no choice but to bite the right hand piece.
He takes a bite. Cats have started feeling horrible.
I'm so sorry, dear. I have gone wrong again. You see, I have to be fair. That's against my will. Now I have to bite the left hand one. Delicious.
He again takes a bite. It goes on for several times. Sometimes the left hand looks heavier and sometimes the right hand. And finally, only the crumbs are left.
Sweets! In the try of being just, I kept taking bites of the cake. Now you see, we are left with these crumbs. I know, it wouldn't make either you happy or you. So let me eat these too.
He eats those crumbs and goes away.
See, your greed led us to a loss. I mean, we both are left hungry. sorry. Never shall we fight. I have now realized that in the fight, the third person gets the benefit.
The moral of the story is, in friendship, never be jealous and never compare and fight, because if you fight, you will get nothing. It is a fine sunny day. Craddy the crocodile moving around a pond. Mon the monkey sitting on a mango tree eating mangoes. He was throwing the seed down. One seed hits Craddy. Craddy looks up and sees Monkey merrily enjoying the mango.
Good afternoon. Can we be friends?
Oh yeah, hi, I'm Mon.
Glad to meet you, Mon. I am Craddy. I live with my wife Cranny in that pond.
Oh yeah, where is Granny?
She will be having a baby soon, so she is resting.
Glad to hear this. Take this mango and give it to her. A juicy gift from your new friend.
He throws the mango.
Thank you very much. I'm sure Cranny will be excited to hear about you and will surely feast on your gift.
You are welcome.
Craddy goes back into the pond. He sees his wife resting. He does not disturb her, but quietly keeps the mango by her side and waits for her to wake up. After some time, she gets up.
Oh, Craddy, have you been waiting long for me to wake up?
It's okay, darling.
She looks at the mango and says,
Thank you, Craddy. I'm sure this must be for me. You are so caring.
She takes the mango and enjoys each bite of it.
Oh, Craddy, I have enjoyed each bite of this. Thank you so much. I'm sure our baby too must have enjoyed. Would you get this for me tomorrow also?
Craddy was very happy to receive praises from his wife, so he does not tell her about Mon. He happily took all the praises. Next morning, he again comes out of the pond and waits for Mon. Mon sees him.
Hey, good morning, Craddy.
Good morning, Mon. Thank you very much. Your gift made Cranny very happy.
Do not mention this again, my dear friend. Friends are meant to make each other happy. Today I will give you one more gift. I'm sure she would enjoy this too.
You are so kind, Mon.
Mon gives a bucket of chikus and says,
Enjoy yourself. Let Cranny not cook today.
Craddy goes back into the pond. He sees Cranny waiting for him.
Oh dear, you look very happy today.
Yeah. Today I will save you from the trouble of cooking. So I have brought something in lots.
He handovers the bucket to her. Cranny is very excited.
Oh, Craddy, this is delicious. I think you are working very hard. I know. It is the arrival of a new member in our family which has made you so serious in your work.
Listening this, Craddy felt that he must tell about Mon to Cranny.
I am sorry, dear. I have hidden something from you. I have found a new friend, Mon. He is a monkey. And all these juicy fruits are not the result of my hard work, but a gift from him. So he is the one who should be praised. We shall invite him home.
You need not be sorry for lying to me. Of course, Craddy. We shall invite him home.
She takes a slice of chikus, puts into her mouth and says,
It feels heavenly, Craddy.
Saying this, she starts thinking something. Seeing his wife deeply engrossed in thoughts, Craddy asks,
Oh dear wife, where are you? Is something worrying you?
I have been thinking about this slice of chikus, which is so sweet. Confirms this.
Confirm what?
That your friend,
who can gift you such juicy and sweet fruits must be having such a sweet heart.
Sure. So,
I want his heart, Creddy.
heart?
Yes, darling, heart. Think how much sweet it will be.
But how is it possible?
If you think it's difficult for you, get him home tomorrow. I will do that. Then Cranny and Creddy had a deep sleep. It's a hunt day. Good morning, Creddy. I hope you remember. You have to get your friend home.
Darling, I will do that to make you happy.
Creddy swims out of pond. He looks up on the tree but does not find Mon there. He became worried of thinking how he will face his wife without Mon. Just then he sees Mon coming with a big watermelon.
Oh, Creddy! Isn't the morning very pleasant? What happened? You look worried, my friend. I hope Cranny is fine. Can I help you?
Cranny is fine, but I am worried and I'm sure you can help me.
Yes, Creddy. I will be glad to do that.
Cranny wants to see you today itself. She says she can't wait till the baby is born. So she has organized a grand feast for you in return of all the gifts which you have been sending for her.
That's it. Do not worry, my friend. It's not a very big deal. Let's go and see her now.
Creddy was very excited.
Hop onto my back, Mon.
Woohoo! Great! So I will be having a joyride today. Wow!
Mon jumps on Creddy's back and moves forward.
I am sorry, but my dear friend, we are not going for a feast. Cranny has shown a desire to have your heart for her lunch today. She believes that your heart would be as juicy and sweet as your choice of fruits.
Mon is not disturbed at all and he says,
No big deal again. For such a simple thing, you shouldn't have worried so. You should have told me this earlier. Now we will have to travel all this way back again because I have forgotten my heart on the tree. You see, I will have to go back and get my heart for your dear wife.
Mon, are you not angry on me?
No, sweetheart. You're doing all this for your wife and I respect that.
Both of them are busy talking and soon they reach near the tree. Mon quickly jumps out and says,
Oh, you foolish Creddy! I understand your love for your wife. But how could you expect that I have left my heart on the tree? Don't you know that how one can live without a heart? So certainly, I have my heart at this place. That's why I'm alive. In your foolishness and Cranny in her greed has lost a friend forever.
The moral of the story is, greed and foolishness are the worst enemy of everyone. Greed and foolishness can carry the mind away. Greed leads to loss of whatever you have.